So, before I get into anything, immediate spoiler warning for Unbreakable and Split. I will explain in a moment, but just keep those in mind, yeah, before we start, okay? Then let's go. So, despite not having a number in the title or having any subtitles, Glass is actually the third film in a film series, in a sort of a trilogy at the moment. The first of which is Unbreakable, and the second of which is Split. Split itself kind of keeping its sequelitis, if you will, secret until the very end of the movie, when it ties into Unbreakable and then, sets up the flow to channel into Glass. The setup is pretty simple. We have three people who believe they have superpowers and conversely super weaknesses of sorts, and a doctor who is trying to treat them, to sort of convince them that all that stuff is just inside their heads. The power of the mind over the body. They believe it's real, and so to them it's real, but it's not real according to her, and she's trying her best to convince them of it. So our three supers, if you will, are David Dunn, Kevin Wendell Crumb, also known as the Horde, and Elijah Price, also known as Mr. Glass. So going round about back to the beginning, we have David, who has the pretty standard powers of super strength and invincibility. But not only that, he can actually see evil thoughts and see what evils people have committed from touching them. That's a big point. That's how he kind of discerns who to go after, who to save, that sort of thing. That's how he's been so effective in what he does. His only weakness is water. Yeah, he goes down like a rock and just stays at the bottom. He has zero swimming skills, and it's actually also his biggest fear of drowning, of course, because only weakness, right? Moving on to Kevin, or the Horde. His superpower is schizophrenia. And I wish I was joking, but yes, Kevin is a schizophrenic with an unusually large amount of alternate personalities living inside his head, all vying for attention and control. He has 24 in total. But that's not all. Oh my god. I wish. But no, that's not all. The 24th personality, and kind of the reason he sort of got how he is called the Beast. That effectively, literally, kind of transforms his body and turns him into this super-powered thing that has super strength, is kind of resistant to bullets, not immune, but resistant, and can even climb walls and ceilings for some bizarre reason. It's really bizarre. It's just, we'll get onto that later. But on the flip side, his only weakness is his name. No, really. When you say his name, his full name, Kevin Wendell Crumb, and I know the specific phrase is, I want to talk to Kevin Wendell Crumb. At least it was. I don't know, it's a bit inconsistent there. But when you say his full name, Kevin himself, who doesn't really have any control, really, all the other personalities kind of shove him down to the bottom of the pecking order, so he barely ever comes out, actually comes out and can stay in control for a little while. That's his thing. That's it. Elijah, or Mr. Glass, he is an interesting case because he doesn't particularly have superpowers as such. His main power is his mind. The guy is a bona fide genius. that's really his shtick. He is the genius. He's got the overactive mind. He's got the over aggressively need to know and control everything mind. So he's a bona fide genius, and his only weakness is his body. Because you see, Mr. Glass has gained his nickname because of the fact that he has brittle bone disease, and literally anything can break his bones. It's a big point, and it is a big point of contention and a big point of weakness for him, but his mind sort of overcompensates for his body's weakness. It's really interesting case. Yeah. And that's it. Those are all three superheroes. Well, I'd say a superhero and two supervillains, effectively, because while David sees himself as a superhero, Elijah specifically sees himself as a supervillain, while Kevin's the Horde, or specifically the Beast, sees himself as sort of almost a godlike entity that's above the petty morals of us mortals. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Rounding off the main cast, I guess, is Dr. Staple, who is the psychiatrist in charge of David, Kevin's, and Elijah's treatment, to try and get them back to normal life, to get them away from this fantasy of superheroing and supervillaining and super in general. Bring super down to normal kind of thing. Anyway, so while not going into spoilers too much, I still want to try and pro-con this thing. And pros, one of the pros is definitely Mr. Glass, or Samuel L. Jackson as Mr. Glass, because he is one of the most subtle and nuanced characters of the bunch, because he can't physically do anything or do much, so he has to really sell his whole persona purely on his facial expressions, his speech, his just thought patterns. When you sort of try and follow his threads that he himself is following, it's great. It's really great, really subtle, really multi-layered performance, and you really believe him to be this amazing genius with a body made of glass, effectively. From Samuel L. Jackson's subtle acting to James McAvoy's absolutely mind-blowingly amazing jack of all trades acting, because this guy has to make you at least, believe, or at least want to believe that he has 24 different personalities inside that body of his. And my goodness, does he deliver. With every personality that comes out, his facial expressions, his speech patterns, hell, his whole bloody body language changes. And the thing is, he does it on the fly. Immediately. Boom, another one. Boom, another one. Boom, another one. And every time, you see that it's a different person. Every time you see that he's playing a completely different person. It is absolutely mind-blowing. That's the only word I can use. It's mind-blowing. It was the best part of Split. It is one of the best parts here, and it's just it's a sight to behold, honestly. Yeah. On top of that, while questionable, the effects on his beast transformation are actually quite admirable, because when he does turn into the beast, he actually looks bigger. Like, they don't use any CGI to increase him or anything. He does something with his shoulders where he sort of hunches them up and makes them look bigger. And then, of course, they do the whole makeup on the veins and everything. And he does look like he's bulking up and he's becoming this ferocious thing, ready to rip limb from limb. It's actually also a sight to behold. It is really interesting, honestly. Yeah. So, and overall, the film is actually more clever than people might give it credit for. It is a very clever film. It is the kind of film you have to sink your teeth into, effectively, with your mind, and you have to pay attention to practically everything that's happening, and you'll get a lot out of it. There's so many layers to everything. It's great, to all the messages that it tries to give, to all the things it tries to set up, to all the things it's sort of delivering as the movie progresses, to the build up and everything. And of course, being a Shyamalan movie, twisty road ahead. That's the best way I can describe it. It's a twisty road, and just when you think it's over, it just twists again. But the thing is, though, each one of the twists does not negate or overshadow the previous ones. They just keep on building, and it will leave you honestly wanting more. Really, that's the best way I can describe it. It will leave you wanting more. I'm not gonna say more than that. Of course, as much as I'd like to say, no movie is perfect, and this is no exception, unfortunately. But it is near perfect. It is so amazing. I know. On the flip side, of everything, The Beast. Oh boy. I know I praised the effects on it, and I praised McAvoy's acting, but holy fucking shit. The Beast is the single dumbest thing to come out of this series. It conflicts with the tone of the rest of the film completely. It completely takes you out of the film. It shatters your suspension of disbelief that you might have had prior, or might regain after each appearance of the Beast. It's no. I hate it. I love the effects on it, sure, but I hate everything else about it. It is so dumb. So dumb. And on that note, it is kind of a shame, because the Beast is the main source for action in this film. So combine the dumb concept with the dumb execution, and you get action that just looks awkward, really. It just looks dumb and awkward, and it just, yeah, no, I'm sorry. Those are the weakest points of the film. I mean, they try their best. To their credit, they are trying their best with it, but there's not much you can do when the base you work off of is just so absolutely unforgivably ridiculous. So, final verdict, I guess, is that it's totally worth your time. Ironically, because of the way it is structured, and because of the way its story unwraps and is sort of delivered to us, you don't really need to watch Unbreakable Split. It's perfectly fine to go into this blind and just watch it, but I would still recommend watching the previous two films before this one, before Glass, but it's not necessary. So, but whatever you do, definitely give this one a chance. Give it your time. Come into it with an open mind and an engaged mind. Prepare to be engaged from the go. From the go. The moment this movie starts, be engaged, and engage with it all the way through, because it is worth it. The road is not too long, but hella twisty and hella fun. It's a great movie. It is honestly a great movie. It's only the second one I watched this year, but so far it is one of my favorites, and I would absolutely love, when it finally comes out on DVD, I would love to sit down and watch all three films just in a row, just marathon the whole thing, because that would just be amazing. Yeah, that's really it. Bye bye.